Hi, my darlings. I'm Sophie Darling, and welcome back to the channel. If you love anime, heartfelt reactions, and deep dives into symbolism and themes, then you're in the right place. Before we jump into today's reaction, don't forget to hit that like button to show some love, subscribe if you haven't already, and ring that notification bell so you never miss a moment of fun. And if you want even more exclusive content like early access to my reactions, full length anime watch alongs, and an amazing community of fellow anime lovers, then please do check out my Patreon. You can find a link in the description box below. Your support truly means the world as it helps to keep these reactions coming, and I'd love to have you join our cozy little anime family. Today, we are reacting to episode 8 of series 1 of Full Metal Alchemist Brotherhood. We left off with them discovering that the Philosopher's Stone is actually made from human sacrifice and that there's this fifth laboratory that is apparently decommissioned, but they found that there's a guard outside, and then Al got attacked as Ed was crawling his way through into the laboratory, and it's conveniently right next to a prison, which makes it ideal essentially for sacrificing people for the Philosopher's Stone and to gain that power. As to why they're doing this and what that power is going to be used for, only time will tell, but the two figures inside the laboratory must be connected to lust and gluttony because their eyes kind of glow the same way. But Al's going to be fine, because if he's not going to be fine, I'm going to be really angry because I absolutely adore him. I will die for him. He is my sweet baby boy. Without further ado, though, we are going to get into Full Metal Alchemist Brotherhood. Come on, Al. Kick his ass. Do it.
でかい割にはいい動きだな。そうでなくちゃやりがいがねえ。俺はナンバー66。最も仕事上の呼び名だがな。
Oh, okay. Number 66.
解体してやっからよ。
He looks really cool, though. The design's pretty damn awesome. Oh. Evidence that this is happening, right?
その通り。どこの小僧か知らんが、錬成人を見ただけでそれがわかるとはな。私はここ
He looks really cool too.
とりあえずナンバー48と名乗っておこうか。
48 and 66.
ここに入り込んだ部外者はすべて排除するよう命じられている。悪く思うな小僧。
そっちこそ。小僧に倒されても悪く思わないでくれよ。
錬金術師か。
Whoa, he's fast.
手並み拝見。
Wow.
決して命拾いしたな。
Don't wreck your arm. Winry will be angry. She only just fixed it.
おいおいおい。ひょっとしておっさん、その中空っぽじゃねえの。
Are they like Al?
あんたみたいなのと
Souls transmuted into armor?
おう、表の世界にも私と同じのがいるのか。
Why?
48は死刑囚ナンバー。生前というべきか。生身の体があった時は。
So they've been tasked to protect this place
死刑囚か。なあ。
from intruders, but they were prisoners.
賢者の石を作ってるんだよな。
それには答えかねる。
So the other one must be a watchdog as well.
そう、その通り。この欠員、これを壊せばお前の勝ちだ。殺人鬼が目の前の獲物を黙って見逃すわけなかろう。
Oh damn, okay.
参る。
だからエリシアが3歳になるんだよ。
He's such a girl dad. I love him.
いやもう可愛いのあん
Oh.
いちいち娘自慢の電話をかけてくるな。それも
She is adorable.
娘だけじゃないぞ。妻も自慢だ。
What a man.
俺も聞いてやるよ。お前の自慢の可愛いスカーのこと。
So none of them are
東部近隣での目
Scar.
撃情報もないから死んだとする意見が多いのが現状だ。
その様子ならエルリック兄弟の護衛もじきに解けそうだ
護衛は今もアームストロング少佐が。
な。うん。少佐の部下が引き継いでるらしい。
やられた。職務隊までアームストロング少佐に絞り上げられる。
I love how even side characters are so well developed and fun. Like, they're not just here for the sake of being here, like, they have a well thought out personality. I love it. It's a really good sign of phenomenal writing that you give care and consideration into every character, no matter how small they are. I mean, he's a mass murderer. He's got talent. Hence why he was picked for this job. Killing people's not unusual to him. Jeez. Oh, God.
まるで猿だな。
なんだこ
Fast.
お前の仲間は今頃私の連れが始末しているはずだ。
その連れって強いのか。
強いぞ。私
So
よりも弱
Zal.
いかな。
だったら心配いらねえや。俺昔っからあいつと喧嘩して勝ったことないんだ。
My precious baby boy isn't one to be messed with. Come on, Al. He's gonna see the mark. Wait, there isn't one.
その体。
Where's his mark? In the helmet? Or
バリーって名前の親父の話だ。
Barry? What a name.
昔々ここセントラルにバリーという料理好きの親父がいました。
Barry the
バリーは
Butcher.
肉を切り分けるのが大好きでした。ような町に出ては人間を解体するようになったのでした。
So, like, Sweeney Todd, essentially.
セントラル市民を恐怖のどん底に叩き込んだその男は
Only Sweeney Todd was a barber, not a butcher, but he used their bodies to make a bakery. Well, he didn't make the bakery, but you get what I mean. Their bodies were used for pies and stuff. He's Barry. Hi, Barry. Barry the Chopper. I prefer Barry the Butcher.
僕東部の田舎の生まれだから。
じゃあ知らないにしたってこの体にはそれなりのリアクションあんだろ。もっとこうギャーとかなんだその体とか。
I mean, besties were the same.
傷つくな。
Human transmutation.
体がなくなった時、兄さんが魂を錬成してくれたんだ。
その兄貴とおめえ本当に兄弟なのか。
そりゃ性格は違うけどさ。
あねねねそういう意味じゃなくて、おめえよその兄貴とやらに作られた鎧人形じゃねえのか。元の人間なんて本当にいるのかよ。
No, don't say that to
間違
him.
いなくアルフォンス・エルリックという人間だ。って生まれてからの記憶はちゃんとあるもの。
それも作り物だったらどうすんだよ。
No, don't confuse him.
ばっちゃんだって。
Don't put that into his head.
なあそうなんだよ。おめえなんて最初
No, Al, don't listen to him. You know that's not true.
簡単なことだ。
動くな。ここは立ち入り。
Oh,
殺しが好きでたまんねんだよ。我殺すゆえに我あり。俺が俺である証なんだ。それだけで十分さ。
gonna give Al an existential crisis. Poor baby.
何？
He distracted him. Smart.
喧嘩に票もクソもあるか。
Clever.
どうした？まだ私の欠員は壊されていないぞ。
He wants to know what's going on here first. Why would he destroy it?
賢者の石か？
知ってること全部吐いてもらおうか。
いえんな。
おいおい、負け犬が生きがるんじゃねえよ。
まだ負けてなどおらん。
That's crazy.
言い忘れたが、スライサーという殺人鬼は
兄弟二人組だったってわけよ。
頭と胴体で別個かよ。反則くせえ。
喧嘩に卑怯もクソも悪く
What?
なったのは誰だったかな。
さあ、第2ラウンドと行こうぜ。
So one's the head and one's the armor. That's crazy.
連戦する暇はね
That is crazy. Fuck.
やべえ。やべえ。
This isn't good.
死ぬ。死ぬ。
Al, where are you at?
嫌な奴のこと思い出させやがって。
Wow,
あいつと同じ
okay.
ことしちまったじゃねえか。実は三人兄弟でしたとか言わない。
Triplets.
さっさと我らを破壊するがいい。
人殺しは勘弁しろ。
こんな体の我らが人か？
あんたらのことを人じゃないと認めち
Then
ま
he
った。
doesn't consider Al to be a
俺は俺の
person,
弟を人じゃないと認める
and that's not
ことに
something he can bring himself to think about.
どうしたよれ人形。
僕は鎧人形じゃない。
そう思ってるだけさ。お前にも欠員があんだろう。そいつ自分で消すんだよ。それで死ねばお前は本物だ。それでも動いてりゃ鎧人形さ。
Don't.
できるわけないだろそんなこと。
俺の弟は人間だ。あんたらも人間だ。だから殺しは嫌だ。
He did say in the first episode that he wouldn't kill people. He's not like that.
我ら兄弟、物心ついた時から盗み壊し殺してきた。それがこんな姿となって初めて人間扱いされるとは。小僧、置き土産だ。すべて教えてやる。賢者の石を作り、我らにここを守るように命じた者は。
Fuck's sake.
ダメよ48、余計なこと喋っちゃ。
あらら、なんで鋼のおちびさんがいるのさ。
ありだ。ありだ。
I know that they're mass murderers and they've killed a lot of people, but it's really still sad to see what they've made them into.
計画に差し支えたらどう責任取るつもりだ。
And to mess with them that way as well.
なんだ貴様ら。計画ってなんだ。人柱ってどういうことだ。あら、やる気満々だよこのおちびさん。ちびちびうるせんだよ。ちびはちびだろ、おちびさん。
The tension.
やだな喧嘩は。怪我したら痛いじゃない。てめえが打った喧嘩だろうが。買ってやるから。
故障みたいね。
Oh no.
腕が壊れてよかったね。
あなたは生かされてるってことを忘れるんじゃないわよ。
Why though?
またこんな坊やが現れると困るわ。ここ焼いてしまいましょう。
Why are they allowing him to live?
兄さんは何を言おうとしてた。怖くて言えなかったことって。
元の人間なんて本当にいるのか。
Al, you are a person. He's getting in your head so you'll let your guard down. You are a person. Oh no, please don't tell me he's gonna kill them. He likes to kill live people.
でもまだ中に兄さんが。なんですって。
これあれだな。
But they can't let him go. He's a mass murderer.
ジェス、荷物を届けに上がりました。
兄さん、
命に別状はないけど、出血
I'm
がひど
so
いから早く
confused.
病院に入れてやってね。あとさ、あんまり無茶しないように。あんたた
Like,
ちしっか
why
り
are
見張っ
they
てて
letting
ね。
him live
貴重な
if
人材なんだからさ。
あなたは
he's a threat to them?
軍曹、手を貸して。
血まみれじゃないですか。
いい音だ。
Is the Crimson Alchemist gonna get out?
崩れ落ちる音ですよ。この近さだと隣の第五研究所ですかね。
体の底に響く実にいい音だ。死後は慎め、キンブリー。
Kimberly, that's his name.
イシュバールの殲滅戦を思い出してつい嬉しくなりましてね。
I wonder if his propensity for alchemy is to do with like explosives, because he seems really excited. No, Al, it's not true. My poor baby, he's trying to get in his head because he's saying, oh, well, what if you're not actually a person? And he's also using, like, what if I'm not a person? But he also just talked about how he enjoys killing people. So he's already showing his hypocrisy there, that he does consider himself a real person because he still clings on to the attributes of what it was when he was in a physical form, not so much a soul transmuted into armor. Why they saved Ed is probably going to make more sense as the story goes on. It just seems very strange because they are threatened by his meddling and understand that he is strong, but at the same time, they went as far as to rescue him and also allow him to live, meaning he has to have a bigger purpose to them in the future for them to care whether he lives or dies. There has to be a purpose to it. There has to be meaning for why they want to keep him around, but maybe it could be to do with him being a good sacrifice. Maybe his propensity for alchemy is something that they believe they can utilize in the future, that it's of value to them, so they have to keep him around. Maybe they'll try to get him on side. I'm not sure. But are they working with the government? Because there was a governmental guard outside of the fifth laboratory. So is he working alongside them? Is he corrupted? Or is the government somehow aware of this and allowing it to happen? I'm not entirely sure, but again, we're only 8 episodes into this entire series, so I imagine things will become a lot clearer as it goes on. I just love that Ed as a character, even though he is strong and even though he is very talented and skilled with alchemy, he's not untouchable. He's not this character that constantly finds ways to overcome these death-defying odds. Like, he is vulnerable to taking damage. We've seen multiple times now him being in over his head and being put into a life-threatening situation. And it's just really fascinating to watch because it makes him more realistic. It makes him more likable as a character, because it is quite annoying when you have a character that has these gifts and these abilities, but they're also just untouchable. They're never prone to weakness, that there's no sort of humanity to them. Whereas what I like about Ed as a character is that there is humanity and vulnerability and weakness to him, which makes him realistic, which makes him very likable, which makes it really fun and enjoyable to watch, because when he does overcome the odds, it is not something that is handed to him because of his gifts or because of bad writing. It is something that he has worked for and achieved. I just think it's more enjoyable to watch a character suffer and struggle to overcome the situation that they're in rather than just have everything handed to them. I think it's fun to see that progression, and it makes them a lot more human and therefore more relatable. You find yourself rooting for them more so than a character that just has no flaws, no weaknesses, no vulnerabilities, and is just perfect in every sense. It's boring. It's shit story writing, in my opinion. Every good character has a flaw, and every good character has vulnerabilities that you can relate to, and that's what makes you enjoy the story writing and enjoy the characters. Likewise, Al having his little philosophical dilemma as to, am I actually a person or am I a puppet? What was Ed going to say to me that he was so scared to tell me? Is it that I am just a shell of the person that used to be? I'm not actually Al. I've clung on to the memories of Al, but Al no longer exists. I'm worried that that might be the case, but I don't think it is. I think the transmutation of the soul, they still retain the human aspects of themselves. The soul is still a very important core part of a person if that's what you believe in. Some people believe in souls, some people don't. It's perfectly fine. But a soul is the very essence of a human being in some beliefs. So transmuting the soul into a suit of armor, it's not that they're a puppet. It's not that the armor becomes the person, it is the soul inhabits the armor and lives on. The soul is puppeteering the armor, correct, in a sense, but the soul is still the original person that was lost. I also really like the little philosophical debate as to whether it's justified to kill someone who has committed mass murder, who has committed atrocities. Again, I did say previous episode that I felt like it could be a subtle critique of the death penalty, especially in Japan, because Japan does have the death penalty, and that it could potentially be the author's way of showcasing that they don't believe that it is justified to kill someone just because they have committed that atrocity themselves, that it makes you no better than the person because you are also taking a human life. You are not exempt from that. And again, it was something that I really enjoyed about Death Note, was that sort of internal dilemma. Are you a good person if you are committing the same atrocities as what you're condemning? Would it run the risk of desensitizing you to other people? Would it make you less likely to empathize with others? Would it make you less likely to see them as people and begin to dehumanize them? So, seeing Ed very much on that, I'm not going to commit murder. He's very much adamant that, yes, you may have tried to kill me. You are a mass murderer who has been condemned for killing numerous people, but I am not going to stoop to your level because I will then just be as bad as you. So there's sort of that element of critique on the death penalty in a sense, symbolically, of course, where it's very much aligning this idea that, are you any better than the person you are tasked to kill, because you also now have technically become a murderer? Because can the government really take away that sanctioning of murder? Can they really make it seem okay? Can they really make it seem that you're not culpable of the same crime? Legally, yes, but morally, you could argue that it is just as reprehensible. But again, everyone's going to have a different perspective on the death penalty, and that's perfectly fine. In the UK, the death penalty has been banned for decades. So I think from my perspective, growing up in a country where the death penalty is not a thing and hasn't been a thing in the time where I've been alive, of course, my perspective is going to be shaped by that. Whereas, you know, if you're from a country where the death penalty is valid, you may have a more lenient approach to it. But then again, you do also have people in Japan and in America who do speak out against the death penalty and don't agree with the death penalty. So, you know, it can go either way. But I think my perspective is evidently shaped by the country that I have grown up in and the morality of the death penalty being banned because it was seen as something not morally justifiable, that there's always the risk of potentially killing someone who is innocent, and also expecting someone to then live with the burden and guilt of taking a human life, regardless of how atrocious that person's actions are. They still have to live with what they've done. And some people don't think that it's right to put that burden onto another. But again, I think it's just very interesting that it could be read as sort of a symbolic critique of the death penalty. And again, with Ed's adamant response of, I'm not um going to kill anyone. He said that in the first episode, I won't kill anyone. And again, it comes back to this idea of he is human, he values life, he values how important life is, that he's unwilling to stoop to the same level as others by committing murder. He doesn't want to do that, he doesn't want to live with that. He would rather allow himself to be put at risk than to kill another person. He is very intent on incapacitating people. But what I wonder might happen is that potentially Ed could be pushed to a point where he does have to kill someone, and whether we'll see that moral dilemma rage within him where he feels guilt and conflicted because he didn't have any other choice. He had to do it, but he's almost tortured by it and has to kind of come to terms with the psychological impact that that's had on him. I wonder if that could be something that the narrative explores further, because again, we are seeing that Ed is very adamant that he will never kill someone. He doesn't want to resort to that. So it does seem in line with potential tension in the show that they may write it that Ed does have to kill someone, but it's because he has no other choice. He's forced into it. And then the psychological dilemma that will rage within him, that he has to come to terms with what he's done, and also the guilt that he feels. I also wonder how it's going to work with Al and his little dilemma as to whether he is a puppet or a person. I do think Barry was solely doing that to get into Al's head, to trick him into letting his guard down, because he is far stronger than Barry and Barry knows that. So the only way that Barry can really get to him is through psychological warfare, which provides an opening, which is what happened. So I do think that Al is not a puppet. I think he is a person, but I guess you could argue, is he a person or is he not? But it ties into Ed saying to him, if I was to not see you as a person, that would mean admitting that my brother is no longer a person. And that's something that I cannot live with. That's not something I can ever accept, because to accept it means to grieve your brother, to mourn his loss and know that he's never going to come back. And that's maybe something that Ed can't ever fathom, that his brother is gone. And I don't think his brother is gone. I think based on what we're seeing, the souls do live on in the bodies of the armor. The armor is just sort of a host for the soul to live within, but the soul is still the individual that has died. It's just been transmuted into the armor and therefore has been able to live on just without a physical body. The soul is still the person, but the physical body is no longer there. It's now armor. And you almost felt really sad for the mass murderers when he saw his brother die, and then he was being sort of tortured by not stabbing the steel. He was stabbing around the seal, which must be incredibly painful, because when Al lifts his head off, he says, "Oh, that hurts." So they obviously do feel pain still. So it's really hard to watch, because you're seeing someone be tortured almost unnecessarily because they were attempting to tell Ed the truth. But This was such a good episode. I just love shows that have sort of philosophical depth to them, but also make you think about the symbolism and how that symbolism could extend beyond the media. Because again, media is a reflection of society, it is a mirror to the world, and what you're seeing represented may also be the author's perspective outside. It could be their politics filtering through into the media that we are consuming. It could be their viewpoints or maybe questions that they're dealing with that they want to explore further, and they do so through writing and through these characters because it allows them a new avenue to explore the philosophical questions that they're wrestling with. But media is not just media. Media has a deeper meaning to it and is often the mirror we hold up to the world to make the world question their own perspective and their own sense of morality. And to also maybe think a little deeper and more critically about the world as a whole. And that's why I have fallen in love with Attack on Titan, and it's why I fell in love with Death Note and Frieren, and also why I'm falling in love with Full Metal Alchemist Brotherhood, because it is not just phenomenal writing, it's not just phenomenal characters and acting, it is a reflection of the world manifested through fantasy writing. It's a way of making us think deeper and more critically about how we engage with the world and how we see the world, and how to recognize aspects of the political system and also just the way in which governments function that we may not necessarily agree with. And it's also a safe way for writers to critique politics and the government without directly coming out and saying it, because it can be risky sometimes depending on what country you live in. It cannot always be safe to outright speak about what it is that you're condemning. So, media and literature is also a clever way of opposing governments, of opposing power imbalances, and opposing systems of inequality without risking your own life in the process or risking being jailed in the process, but also avoiding censorship as well. Because if you wrap it up in fantasy, if you wrap it up in something that is not reflective of the society you live within, then you can get away with critiquing the government and the power structures of your government and power imbalances of the society you live in without anyone really being able to prove directly that you're writing about your own country and your own political system. Even though you could make reference to it and you can symbolically connect it, you can't directly say that it is identical, but you can make the symbolic reference, the metaphoric reference to it. And that's why I got into studying literature, because I love historical connections, I love historical context, I love looking at the symbolism and how it may have a deeper meaning beyond just what we're seeing on the screen, that it can be a reflection of political systems, it could be a reflection of inequality, it can be a way of critiquing power structures, and also a way of making us think differently about the world in which we inhabit. But I think that's all I have to say in relation to episode 8. And if you enjoyed this react, please consider liking, subscribing, and leaving a comment below to help boost this video into the algorithm. Until next episode, bye!